Hello everyone, today we're taking a look at the Sisters of Twilight. I will try to assess how they will be used in multiplayer and how good they are. Their unique trait is that they can mount a flying creature, in this case a dragon, and have a lot of firepower. Most ranged units do not have that much firepower when they're in the air. So one way I believe they could be used is to try and take out artillery pieces, which I'm going to try right now against these warp lightning cannons. But of course, as you might know, artillery is quite popular against the Wood Elves. And why is that so? Well, people don't like to get kited by Wood Elves, and Wood Elves like to kite. So if you have artillery, you can shoot them, stay in position, and that'll work out. Now this ability already kind of failed. Take out this warp lightning cannon. I think if I were closer it would have been able to take it out, but it seems quite unreliable. I've tried it a couple times now, and it seems most of the time this eagle quiver does not destroy an artillery piece. It either just outright misses, or well, it just kind of hits the artillery guy standing behind there. With that being said, it can take out a warp lightning cannon for sure. You line it up very well, and maybe there's some luck involved as well. So the regular arrows, 190 range, lots and lots of missile damage, 180 armor piercing per volley. 2 volleys take out a warp lightning cannon, as you can see. This is something I could definitely see them doing in actual battles, taking out enemy range so that the rest of the Wood Elf army is free to kite. Leave one more volley, we'll see to this warp lightning cannon. Yes, and if I did a better job with the dodging, we wouldn't have taken this much damage either. And there's a secondary kind of attack, the Talon of Dusk, which can be used to shoot at infantry. It's like a bolt thrower on steroids, kind of. But I think it's not that good, because generally the games are decided by killing the large units and the more expensive units, and not so much the infantry. This is good damage, don't get me wrong, especially if fired at close range, but it takes away from the same ammo pool as the regular shots do, so I think it's going to be situational and not used that often. Because most of the time against Wood Elves you see these masses of really cheap infantry, and that's not really what you want to spend your ammo on. Also, this ability, the more I use it, the more I feel like you shouldn't even bring it. It seems like a worse Arrow of Kurnos. Sometimes it connects and it destroys an artillery piece, but most of the time it seems it either misses or just doesn't do enough. And sure, if you play around with it enough, you could probably find the right angles and ranges to shoot at, but you have to consider that if you have to do those things to make it pay off, that's already, you know, something that makes it less worthwhile to bring, because in a battle you might not always have the opportunity to do that. Now, the regular damage though from the bow is actually good. I believe even with, you know, having spent some ammo on other stuff here, we're going to have enough left to shoot this Gracier on his Plague Belt and get rid of him. And yeah, I think that's what they're gonna want to be doing, snipe those high value targets. Because if there's infantry and you have a dragon, the dragon breads and just the dragon itself can probably take care of them. So there it goes. 15 ammo doesn't look like a lot, but considering it's 2 arrows fired at the same time, it is actually a decent amount. But it does take quite a while to spend all the ammo, and that I think is one of the major problems you're gonna have. Because, well, people aren't just going to sit there as the AI is doing while you're shooting them. So they're going to come into melee, or at least try. So unless you're going to avoid that, you will probably feel forced to attack with your dragon. Because you can't just have a dragon not in the fights, just doing nothing. It's just not going to work out. So you will have to create some sort of setup where you can spend your ammo and then commit the dragon to get proper value out of them. Which may be difficult to pull off. So let's now look at the stats and also compare the Sisters of Twilight to their most common competition, which is the Glade Lord. Which is of course the gold standard of Wood Elf play. Glade Lord on a dragon most of the time with the Prey of Anatrema. We compare them, let's say we skip this ability, and let's say we also don't need Arrow of Kurnus on her. Then you see there is a cost difference, not a massive one, which I would say is something you can definitely pay for 5 leadership, 40 weapon strength, and just the increased missile damage you're going to be able to do. And of course, the Conjoint Destiny. So this is an ability I haven't talked about yet. The Sisters of Twilight for 200 gold are able to heal themselves for 1872 hit points. Now, even with that heal, they're not going to reach their healing cap. And you probably want them to reach their healing cap, or at least be able to heal cap them, so you'll probably still need some sort of healing. Either a Spell Singer, maybe Ariel, maybe a Branch Rate with Earthblood, maybe some Zotes. But with that being said, this is a pretty good ability, and I don't think it's going to be that difficult to get to heal, because if you're below 20% health, it's possible you will rout, but a dragon usually rallies, or it has the mobility to get away and get that healing, and then just go straight back into combat, or just stay there until it gets the healing. Yeah, this is a very good ability. This, not so much. Now, biggest advantage the Glade Lord has is, of course, Prey of Anatrema. This is just the cornerstone of Wood Elf gameplay pretty much since they came out. Net something with Anatrema, shoot it down. These Sisters of Twilight, they may have more firepower to do that damage themselves, but they don't have that net, and not having that net is just taking something out of your toolbox that Wood Elf players are so used to, and that really makes playing against them more difficult. Like a cavalry charge could be shot, or any unit that overcommits could be very quickly netted and sniped. These are the things that you have to take into account when playing against Wood Elves, and if there's no Prey of Anatrema, it makes it easier, I think, because when Anatrema is available, you basically have to create 2 points of attack where they can stop you, or they have to stop you. Then one, you're still going to lose one unit, but the other one might get through. But if there's no Anatrema, you're free to just rush them and attack, and you don't have to worry about it. So I think that's the main argument for the Glade Lord, and the reason the Glade Lord will still be seen quite a bit. Apart from that, if we just look at the stats, as I said, they are pretty similar. So what is one more thing I need to mention about the Sisters of Twilight? It actually has armor sundering. Now here is actually an opportunity to do something that the Glade Lord can't. They are more expensive, but the Glade Lord is usually brought with Way Watchers, who are also nerfed this patch. As you can see, they got plus 50 gold. If you have armor sundering, it may be possible to bring Deepwood Scouts instead, and use that armor sundering. You can apply it from range, and then shoot whatever target you've just sundered the armor off with your Deepwood Scouts, doing still not as much damage as a Way Watcher, but definitely a lot more damage than you would without the armor sundering. So that would, once again, be difficult to execute and pull off, but definitely not impossible. And when you think about it, you're saving 500 gold for every Deepwood Scout, compared to Way Watchers. So I think there's definitely a possibility to also use them in combination with Glade Riders or other cheaper archers like that, instead of going for the more typical Way Watcher approach. But I don't think we will see the Sisters of Twilight that much. I think people will mostly stick to the Glade Lord. At least players who are already used to playing Wood Elves and just, you know, going with the typical Glade Lord, Eternal Guard, or Dryad, Wild Rider, Waywatcher army, because I think that army is still going to be pretty good this patch. So, the verdict, the Sisters of Twilight, they have some advantages. They have some underwhelming abilities. I think Eagle Quiver and the Talon of Dusk are just not that great. And they have strong competition from the Glade Lord. But with that being said, they do open up some possibilities that the Wood Elves didn't really have, which is really presenting a threat to artillery with those long-ranged bows they have. And apart from that, they're just something you're going to have to take into account when building against the Wood Elves as well. You will need something to stop them from destroying your artillery, so it's going to change how you build, even if they don't end up being picked. You don't know that in advance, so you will need something to make sure you don't lose your artillery to them. So, how viable do I think they are? I gave Draika a 7. I think I'm going to give the Sisters of Twilight a 7.5. I think they're pretty good. I think they have certain applications, but I think the cost holds them back. And the more common pick will be the Glade Lord still. So 7.5 out of 10. Let's see if the future proves me wrong. Now, the next Lord we're going to discuss, it's actually a hero, will be Ariel. Subscribe for more content. I'll see you in that video.